I'm Darren Miles with Darren Miles Photography, and I'm based normally in beautiful sunny Southwest Florida, but not today. Today, I'm coming at you live from beautiful, mountainous Asheville, North Carolina. Now, if you've never been up here, once this whole coronavirus epidemic thing is over, I suggest very strongly that you plan a trip. You're welcome. The Canon EOS R was announced in October of 2018, and with the announcement, photographer after photographer, me included, we all kind of panned the EOS R pretty hard for its clunky controls, notably the multi-function bar back here, which by the way, I still haven't quite figured out how to use yet, its ridiculous 1.8 times 4K crop factor in video, and most absurdly, one memory card slot, which instantaneously took the EOS R off many wedding photographers' wish lists. However, the one area where Canon got a lot of positive press or a lot of positive coverage, mainly because of the great potential, was the EOS R's mount, and more specifically, the lenses that Canon could produce as a result of that mount. From the 28 to 70 f2 to the excellent 85 and 50mm f1.2s and this. This is the Canon RF 15 to 35 f2.8L wide-angle lens. And before we get into the meat of this review, let me just tell you right now, the 15 to 35 is the new Rolls-Royce of wide-angle lenses in all of cameraDom. And not just because of its lavish price point, but allow me to show you why. So first up is build quality, and living up to the Canon L line of lenses, build is simply exceptional. It just looks like an incredibly high quality luxury item. Coming in at 1.85 pounds or 840 grams, the 15 to 35 qualifies itself as a heavyweight. Now that's hardly surprising given its constant f2.8 aperture throughout the entire wide-angle focal range, a range that covers more than most of the competition in the wide-angle lens arena. The zoom ring is perfectly dampened with just the right amount of resistance. You can even hear a nice quality sound as you extend and retract the lens. The focus ring is unfortunately very narrow and doesn't offer up hardly any resistance at all. Moreover, the focus ring, much like many other mirrorless camera lenses, is fly-by-wire, meaning there's no connection between it and the elements within. But I do like how Canon has implemented manual focus on the EOS R and RF lenses. There's a guide in the viewfinder that lines up two triangles, and when they meet, focus has been acquired and it turns green. New to Canon is this multi-function ring at the end of the lens. You can program this ring to control one of many functions of the camera. Currently, I have it set to control exposure compensation, but you can also use it to control aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Fortunately, you can also turn it off, which may be the choice of many photographers and videographers because these rings are so close together that it's easy to confuse them and rotate the wrong one unintentionally and change a setting that you didn't want to change, which, as you can probably imagine, can be the source of a lot of frustration. Honestly, I wish Canon just did away with the multifunction ring on this lens and gave us a wider focus ring and more separation between it and the zoom ring. On the inside, it's a very complicated formula of 16 elements arranged in 12 groups. Included in that formula are 2 ultra-low dispersion elements and 3 spherical elements. Canon has also added an air sphere coating, which has been applied to certain lens elements to reduce backlit flaring and ghosting, for maintained light transmission and high contrast in strong lighting condition. Sounds like really great marketing. The aperture ranges from f2.8 to f22. And speaking of the aperture, there are 9 rounded aperture blades in there for surprisingly nice autofocus bokeh rendering. Canon has implemented something called a nano ultrasonic motor system, which utilizes both a ring-type ultrasonic motor and a stepper motor mechanism, which gives us smooth, silent, and accurate focusing ability. Now, we'll cover that more in the AF speed and accuracy section. Check out this front element. Unlike the majority of lenses out there, you'll notice that for a wide-angle lens like this front element isn't nearly as bulbous as most of the competition. What that means is regular filters can be used on the 15 to 35. Yes, but the diameter of the filter thread is 82 millimeters, which means filters can and will likely be a little bit more expensive. The lens hood and lens cap are built to a very high standard as well. The lens is stabilized, offering up to 5 stops of image stabilization for handheld shooting. That's great. Finally, the lens is also weather sealed, and frankly it better be, given the price point of this thing. But to summarize the build overall, it's outstanding, with the notable exception of the close placement of the rings, or of the 3 rings. And even though it's not unexpected, at 1.85 pounds, a tripod is probably going to be in order. The bottom line for build, the 15-35 gets a very solid 9.5 out of 10. Next up is autofocus speed and accuracy. Utilizing Canon's new Nano USM system that utilizes both a ring-type ultrasonic motor and a stepper motor mechanism, which results in fast, nearly silent, and extraordinarily accurate autofocus performance. Fortunately, in wide-angle shooting, fast autofocus isn't always a necessity. It's nice, but it's not going to be a deal breaker if the lens doesn't have it, as more often than not, you'll probably be shooting static subjects like landscapes and architecture. However, given the wide focal range of the 15-35, it'll likely be utilized by more than just real estate photographers and landscape photographers. I can also see a place for wedding photographers as well, because fast and accurate autofocus is crucial for those photography professionals. Now, let me just go ahead and demo the AF here really quickly. First thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on something close. And by the way, the minimum focus distance of this lens is just over 11 inches, which is close, but it's not quite macro. Anyway, let's focus on something close, this tripod head right here. And boom, I mean, it's like, bam, it's instant. Now let's focus on something far away, these mountains out here. Bam. I mean, this thing is quick, it's accurate, and it's totally silent. In video, in my opinion, Canon is now right on par and may in fact have exceeded Sony for autofocus performance in video. The dual pixel AF in this thing, it acquires subjects quickly, silently, and holds onto the subject as they move throughout the frame. It's fantastic. But all in, autofocus performance frankly just doesn't get much better than this. So for AF speed and accuracy, the RF 15-35 gets a perfect 10 out of 10. Next up is optical quality and the quality of the results. We're actually filming this section of the review on the 15-35 at 35mm and f2.8. One of the areas, again, where there hasn't been much in the way of criticism apart from the price with the new RF line of lenses is with the optical quality. And the 15-35 is no exception. The results from f2.8 are simply stunning. I shoot a lot of real estate work, or a lot of my real estate work at f8, and at f8 the 15-35 cuts like a sharpened Ginsu knife. Edge sharpness is just sublime. In video, I do a lot of real estate video as well. In most of those videos, especially when filming at dusk or into the evening, I'm shooting wide open at f2.8, and the results are just mesmerizing. The feedback that I'm getting from my clients is overwhelmingly positive. Distortion is well controlled, especially for a wide-angle lens, but keep in mind it's nearly impossible to eliminate distortion completely, but in spite of that, it's still really good. Flare is well controlled, again, especially for a wide-angle lens, and I haven't really noticed any significant chromatic aberrations in the high contrast areas, but that said, don't take my word for it, see for yourself. The next few minutes will be a series of video clips and images taken with the Canon RF 15-35 f2.8 lens, and I think you'll agree Canon has retaken the throne in wide-angle photography.
So now you're here again, knocking at my door. A little too late for, I'm sorry for. The lights went out cause you kept cutting the cord, and I started to fade into your gray. See, I finally opened up my eyes, and I saw me coming back to life. That I'd be better without you inside. It's time to be someone I wanna recognize. The future starts right now. I made a reservation, but you never came, so I'm checking out. The fire you stole away, I know one day we'll come back around. The future is now. The future is now. The future is now. I waited for you in the passenger seat. There's only so far I can ride in your dreams while you...
Last up is value. If you're anything like me and a significant chunk of your income comes from wide-angle photography and you've bought into the EOS R system, then if you can afford it, and I get it, that's a really big if, then just jump on the Canon train and buy this lens. The results are simply astonishing. Now that said, at nearly $2,300, you are going to need to think long and hard before you plop down the necessary financial capital that it takes to get a hold of one of these. This is not to say that the lens isn't worth it, because I believe it is. But if there's a cloud on an otherwise perfect horizon, it's the price. And this really applies to all the Canon RF L lenses, and Canon makes no bones about this. They're shooting for the stars with the RF mount and the RF lenses, especially in terms of image quality. And the prices have blasted off too. Now, if you're on a mission to get the best possible optical quality, then just get it. If you're an enthusiast, or if you don't have the budget for this, then I might suggest looking at adapting one of the many excellent EF 16-35 lenses. In particular, the 16-35 f4L IS lens is a steal. Nonetheless, for value, in spite of its lofty price point, the RF 15-35 gets a very solid 8 out of 10 for value. To wrap up this review, we gave the Canon RF 15-35 f2.8L lens a 47.5 out of 50 and our highly recommended rating, just a half a point off the Editor's Choice Award. The final word: if you shoot wide angle on a regular basis or make your living from photography and you shoot Canon or are thinking about buying into the EOS R system, then I think it's safe to say the RF 15-35 is simply the best wide angle option available in the marketplace today. Really, in terms of results, it's that good. Now, some notable downsides. They include the close proximity of the zoom, focus, and multifunction ring, which can be a bit frustrating at times, and the weight. This thing isn't petite, and most importantly is the price. It's worth it, but it ain't cheap. I'm Darren Miles with Darren Miles Photography, and I'm coming at you live from beautiful, mountainous Asheville, North Carolina. If you like videos like this, go ahead and give me a like, or better yet, subscribe. And until the next time, happy shooting.